Hey everybody, Marvin here from Blacktop Banter, actually at Blacktop Banter, and in my hands I hold a Dynapack roller, which you don't get to do very often. I've been fortunate enough to see some Dynapack rollers this year and spend some time with Dynapack. Now Dynapack is the official compaction sponsor of Blacktop Banter. Some things about Dynapack and their roller system is the seismic system, which improves compaction by making adjustments every 0.2 seconds. Rather than have a stable compaction style, it will actually analyze a pavement and adjust that compaction. They're at the front of the line, always working on innovation and movement and everything that they can do to help improve the compaction world around asphalt. They have a huge presence online. You can find them, of course, at dynapack.com or on social media at dynapack_North_America or Dynapack North America, depending on where you're looking. Besides that, they're very, very active in our community as well. You can find them at many expos and shows and online, and the team as well. They have a great team there that interacts really well with our community. So if you get a chance, pop over, check them out on social media, check out what Dynapack has to offer. And as always, Dynapack is your partner on the road ahead. Hey y'all, Marvin here from Blacktop Banter. Really quick, just wanted to talk about the 800 Pavement Network. As you can see, we have some lettering there, lettering on our other truck over there, lettering on this truck here. They all say 1-800-Blacktop. We've been using the 1-800-Blacktop number here for the last couple of years. It's really been exceptional for us as far as making things click with our branding, and now that we're in another state, those area codes are together. It's worked out fantastically for us. The other thing is that 800 Pavement Network has other advantages. There's group discounts on a lot of the products and materials that we use within our industry. We're part of over 300 different, see that one? Over 300 different contractors that are now using these numbers all over the country. That's combined over $2 billion in gross profits. So if you've been thinking about it or you're curious about it and you're like, well, oh, should I or shouldn't I? DM me, message me, or reach out to 800 Pavement Network. You can find them online through their website. You can call 1-800-Pavement and you'll get them as well. They'd be happy to run you through kind of the advantages and everything else that we've been taking advantage of here at Wiscote and Dubuque Asphalt Maintenance, and how it can benefit you as well. Once again, if you're curious about it at all, you can always DM me. So yeah, 1-800-Blacktop. You can DM me or message me or email me through the podcast or Wiscote or wherever as well. I would love to talk to you about how it has helped us. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's another episode of Blacktop Banter, and this episode has been in the works for a while. I know everybody who is in our industry and in the audience knows I'm a busy person, but I have a feeling this lady may be more busy than I am, as it has taken months to get there. But I really appreciate you being here with us today, Barbara. Do you kind of want to give people an introduction? I know I like the title of tax strategist. Is that the right title?
Yeah, that's really what I say that we have. So I'm Barbara, founder of Your Tax Coach. And I really say that we're a tax strategy firm, not just an accounting firm, because I think it has a different meaning and it makes you feel different. I feel like accountants can seem like so boring. And, you just like bring your numbers to them and they're like, this is what you pay. Whereas like a tax strategist, you're like, oh, this person's really like on my team and they're strategizing ideas on how to save. So yeah, tax
Yeah,
strategist is good.
I like that. I actually would prefer if my accountant came to me and said, "Hey, we have some strategy." That makes me feel like, okay, we're analyzing what I do and how we can get better and make it more beneficial to us as business owners, right?
Yeah.
So, I feel like that's missing, right? And it's like, okay, I see that there's a difference. The word even has a difference to me as a business owner because
Mhm.
as a business owner, you prepare with strategy. At least I hope you would, for growth and for security and a good foundation going forward and those types of things.
Right.
So so as I can see a difference. I hate numbers. I hate putting them together. I hate having to track them. I hate figuring out mathematical equations at a large scale. Some people really enjoy it. Like,
Yeah.
really enjoy it. And one glaring memory I have is somebody in math class sat in front of me, and I'm struggling. This is algebra 2, and I'm
Mhm.
struggling. And they turn around, like I hear the pencil hit the table. The young lady turns around, looks at me, and out of nowhere just says, "I love math." I bailed on that class the next day. We only needed 2 credits to graduate, and I took large animal science, which I passed with
Mhm.
flying colors and really enjoyed. Little beknownst to me, I was gonna need numbers in a big way coming up in my future. So I'm kind of curious
Yeah.
about your background. Have you always been a numbers person? Is this what you foreseen you doing, or and how'd you get to this point?
Yeah, I've always loved numbers. I have this like first memory of kindergarten, and we're going over like addition, right? And I think the equation was like, what two numbers to get to 10, and like, kids are saying like 5 plus 5 and 9 plus 1. And I just walked up to the whiteboard and like, picture like a beautiful mind where he's just like whiteboard everywhere. I literally wrote out like 200 equations on how to get to the number 10, and the teacher was just like, what are you doing? So yes, I've always been good at math. I just never knew like what I wanted to do with it.
Yeah, well, I think it's neat. I think that your passion for what you do really pours over into your content that you've created for your business as well. And there's a big difference between people who do things because they've been trained at it, or they do things because they're good at it, and then there's people that do it because they're passionate about it. And I can tell from your presentations and some of your videos, which we'll get into the video that snagged my attention real
Mhm.
soon. But you have a passion for that, right? Because you hold with your knowledge and your experience a key that can make a difference in somebody's life, and not only make a difference in their life, but could make a difference in their whole year, right?
Yeah.
In some of these instances of business starting out. So everybody knows, as far as the asphalt industry goes, I can humbly brag that I believe we probably have the strongest TikTok presence at Blacktop Banter, which I'm happy and
Yeah.
proud.
Congrats.
Thank you. It's a tough game out there, but
TikTok's like the wild, wild west, man.
I know. And there's some things you think are gonna hit and they
It's
don't. And
crazy.
things that don't hit that you don't think are gonna hit
I
amazingly.
know.
It's
And
so
so many trolls.
oh, it's bad. We just put out some troll videos here lately. People that are just they're upset. They're upset with their situation. They're upset with their life.
Yeah.
You can never build a big building by tearing others down. It takes too much time, but they try
Right.
anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah, and you'll get hate on it too, right? Then you just and it can easily take your time and attention, but we just make more videos. We just deal with the shadow bans of only getting a few hundred views for a while, and then next thing we know, we got millions of views on the next one. So we just trudge through it. But your video that caught my attention, I was at a Chamber of Commerce meeting down at our other business, Dubuque Asphalt Maintenance, and we went to dinner afterwards. And when we went to dinner at one of the chamber members' business, he had a 6-year-old girl that's his daughter working the register at this taco hut, right? This taco place. And
Mhm.
the other 2 gentlemen were with me, like, all right, I'm not going to say anything about child labor or anything. And meanwhile, he turns around and looks at me and he's like, as a business owner, you can write off up to X amount for your children, and then they can put that money into an IRA and they can be millionaires likely before you're going to be a millionaire, Marvin.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me. And I was like, oh, I really need to look into that. Serendipity has a crazy way of making things work out to where I seen your video on TikTok where you were on stage talking about this same concept. And I thought,
Yeah.
well, it can't be coincidence that twice in 1 week this hits me. So, do you kind of want to give context of that video? You were on stage, a beautiful stage, and it looked like a great audience. Give context to that, and then maybe tell us about that tax benefit.
Yeah, I do a lot of speeches for mastermind groups, big masterminds or conferences. And so, yeah, that video was just a snippet from one of the speeches. And basically the rule for that tax strategy is, as a business owner, you can pay your kids up to, this year 2023, it's 13,850. So it's up almost $1,000 from last year. That video that you saw, I think, probably said 12,950. But as a business owner, you pay them $13,850 on your business. That's an expense. So it lowers your taxable income.
Mhm.
And then for your kids, as long as it's less than $13,850, it's completely tax free to them because there's an exemption in the tax code for your own kids under 18 that one, they don't have to pay federal tax on it, but they also don't have to pay Medicare, Social Security until they're 18.
Wow.
So it's totally tax free and a write off for your business. But what I love even more is because they now have a W-2 because they're getting paid from your business, you can open up a Roth account for them and max it out, 6,500 a year, 6,000. And if you did that for just 5 years, when they retire, they would have over $2 million.
That's wild.
Now, like there were so many trolls on that video because they're like, how would you ever get to 2 million? That's only if the stock market, blah, blah, blah. Okay. It's assuming a 7% rate over, the next 60 years because you're paying them when they're little till when they retire. But
And to be honest, 7% I actually think is low when we talk about
yeah,
certain index funds, right? Like
yeah,
actually a low percentage. So
yeah,
they know what they don't know, and that's
for
fantastic.
sure.
I'm fine with that with the trolls.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But if you want like a pro tip too with that one, so you max them out for 6,500, but you still have, $7,000 left from what you've paid them. You can get whole life insurance for them as well. And then, that's another way to make them millionaires too.
yeah, and all they ever want is a pair of like Jordan Air Force Ones, or my daughter wants a new iPhone. So if they can work a year for that, they're happy. Um,
Yeah.
The other video that I seen recently was one about writing off your vehicle. So we have a lot of contractors that are owner operators within our industry that are listeners of the podcast and followers of Blacktop Banter. And some of them are like, man, I've got this, some of these trucks to pull some of these units and things that we work with are very expensive. So some of them aren't, right? Some people are driving jalopies because they're like, well, I can't afford to pay a truck. There's no benefit there. I'm just going to eat it.
Sure.
Can you give us some advice about that video and that context of that one as well?
Yeah. So the rules changed this year, 2023. So um, for this year moving forward, say you bought a work truck, so it's over 6,000 pounds, usually.
Mhm.
Make sure it's over 6,000 pounds if you want to write it all off. But say you bought a $100,000 work truck that's over 6,000 pounds. This year, you could write off $80,000 of that truck. It's an 80% deduction this year. So say you even financed it, right? And so maybe you're making like $1,000 a month payment
Mhm.
and you buy it in January. So by the end of the year, you've only paid $12,000 on it, but you get an $80,000 deduction. So you actually just made money on this truck purchase. And the other 20,000 between the 80 and the 100, it doesn't go away. You actually get to take that in the next 4 years. So you
Oh,
would get another $5,000 a year deduction for the next 4 years after this one. So if that helps you be able to purchase a work truck that can then, now you have another crew, or now you can make more money and get places faster, safer, then I say go for it.
yeah, and you're able to build strategy around that, right? Like if you're starting out and you're like, I can't afford this with no deduction or no or any part of it. But yet you're able to make money on the back end of it, right? And save yourself money. You're able to allocate that somewhere else. And that could be a Kickstarter for your whole business, right? I
Yeah.
mean, depending on in our industry for sure.
And
So
if you do finance it, the interest that you pay is also a deduction.
yeah, yeah.
So
On the
so
loan.
like I tell people, don't be too worried about financing a truck. I mean, obviously don't buy things you can't afford, but
Mhm.
if you can make it a business deduction and write it off, like go for it.
Yeah. And the one thing that I always run into, that a lot of people run into, is that one thing could be a hinge point for them making or breaking their entire business, right? Is that truck. I've been there
Mhm.
before where I like paid for it all. And then I was like, oh no, I got to go finance one. Went and financed one and we built this company, Wiscoat, on the back of that truck, right? And then I
Yeah.
was figuring out, okay, how do I write this thing off? How do I figure this whole thing out and get it all done? And I still don't think we implement the strategy that you just mentioned, right? With what we do have and what we do, but need to, definitely need to.
Yeah.
So when we talk about like all these strategies and all these things, I'm going to guess that the majority of contractors in my industry don't spend a lot of time, effort, and energy focusing on these things or studying them in that regard. So if they have, let's say there's, I'm going to do two scenarios, and then you can tell me what to do in each scenario. Let's say they're an owner operator and they do their taxes and accounting themselves, and then want to work with you, with somebody like you or your team.
Mhm.
What are the steps for that to happen? And then the other one is, what if they already have an accountant and they're like, this person is missing the mark big time? What are their steps then?
Yeah, the process is pretty similar and it's so easy. People get very like stressed out and anxious about like switching their tax person or like starting with someone. And I always say, like, even if it's not with us, make sure you find someone that you like vibe with, that you connect with, because this person, like your accountant tax person, is your most trusted advisor in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So find someone that is on your team, not someone that's just telling you no all the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's going to make you feel like yucky, you know, for like lack of a better word. You're not going to want to ask them questions after a while because you're like, oh, they're just going to tell me no. Rather, like find someone that's like, let me tell you how you can, and these are the steps. But back to your main question of like, how do you go about working with a tax person? It's so easy. We have a portal. We ask for your last year's tax return so we can kind of see what you've been doing, and then we tell you what we are going to do and how it's going to be so much better and how much money you're going to save in taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just go from there. The main thing is like getting your numbers up to date.
Yeah. The one of the questions I have for you is in regards to um like you were saying, that yucky feeling. It almost feels like you're trapped, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people feel trapped where they're like, well, they do our payroll, they do this, they do that. Like, I can't leave. We're going to uproot and then it's going to be a pain in the neck. Um, can can people use a tax strategist as a consultant where they can still do that snapshot, take that picture of their business, and then tell them what they need to implement with their accounting firm or with in their own, if they're doing their own accounting? Does that exist where we have a tax strategist consulting scenario, or no?
There are other companies out there that just do like the consulting, like you're saying. And the problem with it is that you now have like different teams of people, and like the left hand isn't talking to the right hand type
Yeah.
of thing. And so like there's bottlenecks in there. And if your accountant isn't giving you these strategies, like why stay with them anyway?
Yeah.
Um, we tried that in the beginning, and we would just get phone calls all the time from their CPAs being like, how do I put this on their tax return? How do I do that? And so it just like took up way too much of our time. And so we require now, like if you're doing strategy with us, we're going to prepare your tax returns.
Yeah, and you can definitely have those accounting firms or CPAs still do payroll, right? And do all
Yeah.
that stuff for you, but take
We
that.
still do it too. Like, we have a whole bookkeeping team, and we set you up on a very easy automated payroll. So we still do that as well. But yeah, we also tell people, if you love your bookkeeper, like, because really good bookkeepers are hard to find. If you love them, stay with them.
Yeah.
But in terms of like tax prep, yeah, we have to do it because like other accountants don't know how to put our strategies on tax
No,
returns.
no, that's kind of like what we do here at Blacktop Banter. If we do marketing, right? Someone's like, well, we just want you to post for us. It's like, well, yeah, but we're posting stuff that isn't the greatest content ever that really would work for your strategy. And then that's all of a sudden it's like, well, then you go ahead and direct and do the strategy and we'll have somebody else post it. And you're like, it doesn't gel like that. Like, we really need it to
Yeah.
be fluid and maximize our capabilities and our abilities to make that happen. What what is some practical pieces of advice for people who are in the service industry? They do, whether they do seal coating or asphalt work, or whether they do lawn care, landscaping, painting, roofing, that type of stuff. What are
Mhm.
some pieces of advice that they could implement right away that you've seen over your career dealing with contractors like myself and the followership that we have here?
Honestly, and people hate this answer because it's so boring, but you have to know your numbers. Like that is the foundation. If you want to save money in taxes, you have to know your profit, like point blank. So you have to know every month what's coming in, what are your expenses, because we can't, from a strategy standpoint, like we could tell you all the strategies in the world, but if you're not profiting anything, like none of them apply.
Mm-hmm.
Or on the reverse, if you're profiting millions of dollars, you're going to have different strategies than someone profiting $100,000. So we have to know exactly what your profit is. So, like, get really good bookkeepers and be up to date with it, which is like so boring. Nobody wants to work on their dang books, but it's so key.
Yeah, especially us. Like we all have callous hands, and we were in the sun and doing labor and doing grunt work a lot of times. So when you tell us to come in and get the calculator out and get on our computer and open QuickBooks and make sure that all checks and balances, it's just like you're asking me to do something completely against the grain, but it's necessary, right? Like
Or hire for it. Yeah.
we're hired
Like
for it. Mm-hmm.
a good bookkeeper will save you money in taxes because we know where exactly to expense things,
Mm-hmm.
but also like we'll be like, hey, this cost of goods is like losing you money,
Mm-hmm.
so like this project needs to be, you need to invoice more, there's so many other things than just like knowing your income and expenses. You can like stop a problem before you're bleeding out.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing that you come to realize when you do job costing and then the general business expenses, right? As things go in and out. Do you have issues? Not like do you have issues, but when you see clients that come to you, do they have issues or are there issues with them um doing like personal expenses mixed with business expenses and that type of stuff? Do you guys do a breakdown of like, okay, we would love to work with you, but you have to get this right first so that we can get that foundation? Do you guys take that into account with some clients?
Yeah. A lot of clients come to us and they're still mixing their personal and business stuff. A lot of construction and service industry clients as well. And so we'll work with you to get it fixed and eventually it will all be
Yeah,
fine. And we'll teach you which cards to swipe and be better about it.
that's right. No more questionable business expenses, at least hopefully anyways. But
Yeah.
so I'm sure some people need to do their seal coating and roofing with a side by side ATV from some standpoint, but I
You can write those things off. There
know.
are a lot of things that you can write off. It just, has to be documented correctly and
And that's where the importance comes in, right? I
yeah.
mean, making sure that you have a professional and somebody who has their ducks in a row and know this area of it, right? Be the same thing if we were to switch shoes, right? And I'm like, hey, Barbara, come out and take care of this parking lot for us. You'd be like, I kind of maybe make it black, but I have no idea what I'm doing, right? That's the whole aspect of what we do on the business and number side. And when you hear stories of somebody who got a great tax benefit through strategy and you missed it that year, it's painful as a business
Yeah.
owner. It's painful, especially when it's five figures or could be six figures. And you're just like, man, like that could have really been a cornerstone or a turning point for me in business this last year.
Well,
And
the good part is we can amend up to 3 years tax returns. So we do go back majority of the time for our strategy clients. And we're like, hey, in 2019, you could get back 20 grand. You just have to pay for us to prepare the return. Um, is that worth it to you? And 99 times out of 100, they're like, heck yeah, I want 20 grand back. And then maybe it's 30 grand for 2020 and 50 grand for 21. Like it adds up very
yeah,
quickly.
yeah.
That's where our clients see big results. So even if you hear about these strategies where you're like, dang, I missed the mark, like we can go back 3 years.
Cool. Yeah, that's a great tip that I didn't write down or ask. So I'm glad you brought that to a point. Any other tips or anything before we let you go and get your socials and have a little fun at the end of the podcast here with the pod deck? Any other tips or anything offhand for service business owners?
Oh, so many. So first one would be like how you're structured determines how you're taxed. So if you're just a sole proprietor or an LLC, single member LLC, you're taxed at the highest rates. So if you're profiting over $40,000 a year, you really probably should be an S corp or a C corp, and we see it all the time where people aren't structured correctly, and just like the S corp change could save you $22,000 a year in taxes, and like way more if we can switch you to a C corp. It just depends on how much money you're making and how you spend your money. But so I would say like look at structure, because a lot of times in the service industry you just start your business and you're like, sweet, I'm now gonna have an HVAC company, and then you blow up and you're so busy that you never even like think to change how you're structured.
Correct.
So that's like one that we see all the time. And then like your travel, try to find ways to tie it to business. If you're networking with someone in your industry or you're chatting with someone about what you do, like your travel can 9 times out of 10 be business travel.
Mm-hmm.
And same with your meals, so many things. I would say check out your tax coach on Instagram or TikTok
There
and
you
you'll
go.
find way
There you
more
go.
topics.
Yeah, yeah. And you do have a lot of topics, a lot of videos, a lot of reference points that I think hit home with a lot of business owners that are there and look forward to it. Very cool. And people can find you on Instagram, TikTok. You got a link tree on both of those profiles that
Yep.
can really point people in the right direction, correct?
Yeah.
And anywhere else you want them to look?
Um, I would say those are the best 2 places.
Yeah, I think so too. And you got great content as well. You guys have done really
Thank you.
well on that end. Okay, cool. All right. Now we're gonna switch to a pod deck real quick before I let you go and give us a little bit of free
Okay.
time. Um, hopefully we don't get the hot dog question. A lot of people got it. I had 2 NASCAR drivers on last year and they both got it. And it was like, so sometimes I just make them say, I'm gonna choose a different one, but I'm gonna cut the deck.
Okay.
We're gonna go. All right, ready? I'm gonna show
Ready.
that to the crowd. It says, what's something weird that you recommend everyone tries at least once?
Oh my gosh. What's something weird?
And
Like,
weird's an opinion, but
yeah.
some people it's not weird. Some people.
Okay.
All right, we
You
got.
have to try a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with Doritos inside of it.
Oh my gosh, really?
It's delicious.
Weird
Like so good. I haven't had it in like 20 years, I will say, but as a kid, that was like my favorite weird snack.
with the nacho ones, not Cool Ranch.
Nacho ones for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. My kids enjoy peanut butter sandwiches with chili, so I'm
Oh, okay.
guessing we're rocking along that same line, right? A little
Yeah,
bit.
like sweet, savory.
Sweet, savory, and a little bit of cheese. Very cool. Well, hopefully we can have you back on at some point, and maybe by that time we'll have some connections and different things and whatnot as well, and really kind of be able to pinpoint some questions and things as we get used to you in our industry here, and people like you here. It's an important topic that I think people kind of put in the corner of their mind and kick down the road.
Yeah.
Because they're so focused on generating sales to pay the bills. When really on the back end, um, we can make more use of all that hard work that they're putting in
Yeah.
by taking
Keep
care of
more.
it. Paper. That's right. Keep more. We deserve it. Barbara,
Yeah.
we deserve it. All right. Very cool. Well, thank you very much, Barbara. I really appreciate you being with us. And as always, this is Blacktop Banter. And here we speak asphalt. Peace.